Why, hello, faithful viewer, whoever you may be and however you got here. I know there are people who probably follow this channel and maybe you just clicked on it because it's the next video released on this channel. Maybe this mysterious algorithm just sort of recommended this for you. Or maybe you were just doing a complete random search and going down the YouTube rabbit hole and you completely accidentally stumbled across this. However you came about this doesn't really matter to me. I just bid you welcome for this little journey that we're on. This is something new that I'm trying to curate a little safe space in the middle of the internet nethosphere where we can think about God. Many of us don't know how to think about God, what we think about God, what we should think about God, and even how to talk about God. And this idea of theology, which for lack of a better definition is just the study, the thought process of God and how to understand more about that. It's very intimidating to us. We often aren't motivated to read a big theology book or a big treatise on different aspects of God and the history of thought on God. So my purpose here is just to have little bite-sized incremental things to help us think more deeply and consistently about this. Now, different theologians would recommend a whole bunch of different places to start from. But for me, I think it is a good place to start with this concept of mystery. Because I don't know where you're at in this journey. Maybe you don't even believe that there is such a thing as a God. Maybe your whole life you've been told there can't be such a thing as a God. Maybe you believe that there is a God, but you don't know what to think about this God or even how to gain information. There's so many different competing views and competing traditions out there. So from my tradition, I just want to enter this space thinking about mystery, because mystery is important. Mystery is important no matter where you are in your walk of faith. It doesn't matter if you're in the first few baby steps or if you've been on this journey for decades or even the entirety of your lifetime. We still never outgrow the need to embrace this concept of mystery. Mystery acknowledges that at some point you get to the end of yourself. There are things beyond you. There are things beyond your thinking and your capacity to think. There are things beyond the history of thought and technique throughout human development. You know, there's lots of things that we do not understand about the cosmos and probably never will in the future generations. There are lots of things that we do understand about the environment and nature, but the more we discover, the more we realize there are more and more levels, smaller and deeper and richer than we ever knew about. It's like a bottomless study. The more that we understand about human beings and our development, it's interesting that we know and we have some idea of like how the heart beats and how the mind works and how cells divide in utero and zygotes and all of those things. But even knowing those things, how does one explain why the cells know how to divide in the way they divide? That eyes can form and ears can form, eyes that see and ears that hear, and a heart that beats sometimes even though it has flaws, and that the mind can think. You know, I think science is very rich and good and important. It helps us understand things that are in this world and how they function, but science reaches a limit where it can't go beyond. It can't go beyond the veil to explain how things got here in the first place and maybe why they were designed to function the way they function. That requires something deeper than science and further than philosophy. And I'm just going to say that requires mystery. When you can embrace this idea that there are mysterious things in us and around us and out in the nether reaches where we will never be able to physically travel, then all of a sudden it becomes a little easier to say, okay, this is a special space. This is a God space. And I'm going to give credit and give sort of deference to God for that space. And I'll enter in on God's terms on how to investigate that a little bit more deeply. We see these kinds of things in my tradition. Even our sacred scriptures will say things like, God's thoughts are not our thoughts, and God's ways are not our ways. So there's lots that we can't understand. God operates on a completely different function level and in a different realm. You'll read things like, we don't walk by faith. We don't walk by sight. We walk by faith, which means, yes, there are things that you can see in this world, but there's a level beyond that. There's a realm beyond that we just have to accept. We'll read things like, without faith, we can't please God. Because each person has to believe that God exists and that God is a rewarder of those who seek him. This requires some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of acceptance that there are mysterious things happening all the time. And if we want to understand those things, then we have to embrace the reality of mystery. So I'm going to ask you kind of where you are with your ability to accept mystery. Take some time and contemplate that. If you still think that science or philosophy or whatever traditions you have absorbed from the popular culture explain everything, and that everything is just random and chaotic and there is no major mover or any major plan beyond what you can see and know, then you're probably not ready for mystery yet. But as you contemplate things a little bit more deeply and think about all of the things that you don't know, when you get to that place where you can say, yes, I believe there is such a thing as mystery and a realm beyond what I can understand, then you're probably ready for the next step, the next bite-sized piece of theology. So until you get to that point, and when you get to that point, I'll see you in the next video. And until then, may you have peace and may you be blessed.